day today, right? 50s in Michigan is unheard of in February, usually, at least for this long of a period of time. So thanks for coming out. All of you know me, but for those of you out there in Facebook world, my name is Helena Miller. I am a clinical nutritionist here at Gilead Healing Center. This, if you've never been here, is a really remarkable place. We have a lot of amazing services. We have chiropractic care. We have specialized nutrition programs. We have massage. We have Christian counselors. We have prayer team. Here we have foot detox, and we also have infrared sauna. Did I miss anything? Heidi, did I miss anything? No, okay, very good. So if you've never been here, please do check us out. Go to our social media pages, go to our website, because there is no space in the world really like this, in my opinion, that I know of. So tonight, we are gonna talk about parasites. Most people don't wanna talk about parasites because it's gross, right? Like, ew, I don't wanna think about that. But it's super important for us to not only think about it, but to understand the impact that parasites have on us as humanity. Most of us feel like it's only about our pets, right? It's only about our dogs or our cats or our horses or whatever. And we don't even ever think about our own body needing a parasite purge and why. So that's what we're going to touch on tonight. We're going to talk about what is a parasite, because people have their ideas, but maybe they just don't really know. We're going to talk about common types of parasites. We're going to talk about how we get exposed to parasites and what are some of the common symptoms. And then we're also going to talk about some solutions, because there are solutions to parasite. Once upon a time, there was a family, and they had this family tradition, and every year, the dad, for his birthday, would take his family out to dinner, and they would have a meal. And on his 40th birthday, he opened up this list, and this is what he did every year for his birthday. For every year he was alive, he made a wish list. And on his 40th birthday, he had 40 wishes, and he would read them off every year to his family at dinner, right? Sort of cool tradition, right? And so year 41 comes around, he does the same thing. He opens up his list, he's got 41 wishes, and he reads them off. Every single one of them to his family. Year 42 comes through, and they're all out at dinner, and he opens up the list, and he only has one wish on his list. Because you see, that year, he got a dreaded diagnosis. And the only thing he wished for that year on his birthday was to have his health back. And that story is so powerful for tonight's talk, because I feel like parasites, and I didn't realize the scope of this until I started really helping people work through their challenges with parasite and realizing how many chronic conditions parasite really are at the root cause of. When I realized when it comes to our overall health and chronic illness, including cancer, we really do have to confront the fact that perhaps if we have a pulse, then we have parasite, okay? And so we, in our practice, in our clinical nutrition practice, we are root cause finders and fixers. We find things in the body that do not belong, and we help the body kick it out naturally. The body can heal itself naturally if it's given the right stuff. So what is a parasite? Parasites are actually the oldest living organism. They've been frozen in the permafrost for 42,000 years and still came back to life. Can you imagine that? That's like, who are the stars that used to say that they were going to cryo-freeze themselves for later in life to come back to life? I remember in my childhood some celebrities that were talking about cryo-freezing themselves. But these parasites, they just did it on their own, and they can just come back to life. How weird is that? That's crazy. But this is what we're dealing with. They have no age limits, they have no geographical limits, so most people think, okay, if I go to Jamaica, I can't drink the water, I'm gonna have to wash my hands, do whatever, be careful, because it's Jamaica. Nobody thinks, oh, I'm going to the United States, I better not drink the water, but it's true, you shouldn't drink the local water. However, nobody's thinking they're gonna get a parasite infection from drinking our city water, right, our rural or city water. But the truth of the matter is, you can live in America your entire life, never go overseas, never go to the islands, and you can have parasite. So there is no geographical limits. This number, I feel like it could be higher just from my clinical experience, but over 60% of the population has some sort of parasite. For me, it feels like 90% or more of my practice is really dealing with patients who have chronic symptoms that end up being parasite in nature, okay?
90%.
Over 90%, yeah. The majority of my patients on some level have parasite. Whether it be on the very first visit when I'm initially assessing them, or it's after we've peeled through a couple layers of their health and then bam, now we have parasite, right, to deal with. And so, I mean, it is what it is, but it's very prevalent, and I feel like 60% is kind of a low ball on that. Parasites need a host, or at least desire one, and we are a food source, right? They take our nutrition from us to thrive, to survive. Now, having said that, there are some symbiotic parasites that we can have that clean up stuff for us, okay? And so if the body and the immune system is in check, in a good working order, we can keep them at bay, and they can just do us a solid by cleaning up stuff, okay? They can sometimes clean up, they'll eat bacteria or fungi or whatever, right? Or other parasite maybe. But it's when our immune system gets low and our body gets too toxic that they can morph, pleomorph in a sense, and become a problem, okay? So here are some common types of parasite. These are the common ones that we can look for and know to find. Sporozoa, protozoa, strongyloides, cestodes, nematodes, ropeworms, pinworms, and trematodes, okay? Pinworms are common, especially if you have animals. If you have kids with itchy butts, they probably have pinworms, right? If they bite their nails a lot, they probably could have some pinworms. That's kind of gross to think about, but the reality is that's kind of a sign that perhaps they may have pinworms. If you have pets at home, that kind of thing, that can predispose you. Hi.
Hello.
Welcome.
Sorry, we thought it was a different location.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, that has happened before. We're just getting started, so you're noticing a whole lot. All right, so nematodes. These are roundworms, and they can travel. That's kind of a picture. I tried to find a good picture to put up there of what they look like. But they're longer. They're cylindrical. Is that how it's called? And they can navigate, meaning they can go other places in the body. Now, when you go to the doctor, the medical doctor, they're going to do a stool sample and they're going to tell you, yay, you have parasites, or no, you don't, right? But the truth of the matter is, I've found them everywhere. I know my colleagues have found them everywhere, between brains and eyeballs and hearts and liver and gallbladder for sure, and in the bowel, kidney, adrenal, you name it, they can go there. Parotid glands in the ears, the back on the mastoids of having the ear, thyroid, you name it. So don't think they're local to your gut, because they're not. And nematode is a type of roundworm that can travel. Strongyloides, also a type of roundworm that can travel. Strongyloides likes to get into what we call the pons of the body. That's like your joints. So if you have stiff, achy joints, you may think it's arthritis. The doctor tells you have arthritis, take this medicine. But what if, right? What if there's strongyloides in your joints and they're causing an inflammatory response because bugs that are there are inflammatory. They don't belong there. Your body knows they don't belong there. And they create this toxic environment of biofilms and waste. They're pooping in you, right? And they cause an inflammatory response. and then you have arthritis, and then you're taking all these medications for your arthritis and all this pain for your arthritis, when what you really need to do is find a way to identify what's in there and try and kick it out, right? Your body, if given the right stuff, can kick it out. Got more people, yeah. Ropeworm. That's a little more. I didn't want to gross you out too much. I could have put, and I have had some of the staff ask me to put my patient pictures in these slides, but they are pretty grody, so I chose not to do that, because a lot of my patients will send me pictures. Well, they'll ask me first, can I send you a picture of this? And I'll be like, yeah, you're not going to scare me. I worked in a hospital for 20 years. I've seen it all. I've walked through it all. I mean, like, you can't scare me. So, so seeing a picture of Parasite that my patient eliminated, I'm happy to share that joy with them, because sometimes they get really excited, right? It's like validation for them that oh man, Helena was right, and there it is, and now it's gone. Hallelujah, right? I had a patient once upon a time who she had some ropeworm, and we have a special supplement we use that's very sticky. It's a seed, and it expands in the gut, gets really sticky, and it just literally, like, I envision it like strangling these ropeworms and just kind of pulling them out of the intestinal wall, because ropeworms will oftentimes, they'll make themselves out of you by they're like adhered to the intestinal wall. And I believe that I learned once upon a time they're like 1% tapeworm and 98% are DNA, or 99% are DNA. So they literally make themselves out of us. And they called ropeworm because if you can kind of see in the picture, they have kind of this knotted kind of appearance. And so this sticky seed that we give patients when they have this is super good at just strangling them and then pooping them out. And I had a patient for 30 days, she was on this product, this seed, along with other stuff, but she was literally sending me pictures every morning over the toilet of this thing that was like 6-7 foot long, every day for 30 days. That was her. It was fascinating. I couldn't believe it, like every single day. To the point where, like, when I took her off of that sticky seed, she didn't want to come off of it, because she was so, like, it was so fascinating, like, she was so relieved that she was getting rid of these things. It was hard for her, I think, to believe that she didn't need that anymore, right? And so, yeah, fascinating. But ropeworm is really, really, really problematic in the gut. It really causes intestinal blockages. It causes a lot of pain, a lot of severe constipation, severe cramping, you know, that kind of thing. So, the most common question I get about parasites is what? What do you think the most common question? What's the first thing you're coming to mind, you want to know about parasite?
How do you get them?
How do you get them? That's exactly the most common, that's exactly it, the most common question I get. So, here we go. Here's some common places, okay? Food and water. We live on planet Earth, okay? Food and water, right? And not just sushi. Everybody's like, well, I don't eat sushi. It's not just sushi. We can get it from other undercooked foods or ill-handled foods. Our pets, like I said, some people sleep with their pets. I know it's warm, it's cuddly, you know, they're so sweet. But, you know, that could be a problem. So when my patients come to me and I know they have pets, and I clear their body of, they get their body to clear itself of parasite, and then they end up with parasite again, I have to remind them that, okay, is this a reinfection? I don't know, but it could be, right? It could be just another layer of you that you've been holding on to for so long, and now your body's ready to handle it finally. Or could be because you're sleeping with your pet, and your pet, you know, needs more than just their heartworm pill. Who knows? Hard to say, right? If you've ever swam in a lake or a river, which is most of us, right? Multiple times as a kid and an adult, swallow the water accidentally, perhaps, you know, you just never know. Walking barefoot on the ground. I had a patient once upon a time who did go to an island, I forget, it was maybe Jamaica or one of the islands. She came back and she had this round thing on the bottom of her foot, like this, and it itched. It was really irritated, and she could see it. She came to me, she's like, I think I have a parasite in the bottom of my foot. Sure enough, she had a parasite. And it was just from walking. She knew not to drink the water and all the things, right? We set her up really good for that, but it was the walking. So some of them can enter through your skin there, right? And then you end up with this parasite just hanging out. We talked about the swimming pools, public swimming pools particularly. Most people don't think about this, but chlorine does not kill parasite. So you can be, a lot of the illnesses that people get in a public swimming pool are probably parasite-related illnesses, right? We haven't heard about any of those in a long time, if I can remember, but it does happen. And air quality, could the eggs or the spores come through the air? Yeah, I think they could. I think you could breathe them in. Any questions so far? Okay, good. Here are some signs or symptoms, right? Really, in my world, anything can cause anything. And if I'm ever suspect and I can't identify the thing right away, I'm gonna scan the body deeper for parasite, because 9 chances out of 10, they're there, and so that's what I'm gonna do. So I'm talking about GI upsets, I'm talking about headaches, I'm talking about anxiety, depression, I'm talking about skin eruptions like eczema, psoriasis, I'm talking about sleep disturbances, especially if anybody is feeling a bit off today, yes, tomorrow is the full moon, and it's a super full moon. It's like a big deal. And so when people have parasites, are you feeling a little off today, Barb? Okay, all right.
I gotta pray more.
Oh my goodness, yeah, all right. I agree. So here's the thing, I don't know the science necessarily behind it. I think it's a frequency thing. The moon is big, and it's, and parasites, just like us, are affected by frequencies, certain frequencies, I feel like. So when we have parasites, we can have an exacerbation, if you will, of our symptoms, whether it be more anxious or more mood swings, like you're angry and then you're happy, and then you're angry and happy. You can have sleep disturbances. You can have itchy skin, itchy butt. You can have, GI upset, nausea. You can, all these things can be worse during a full moon. And so when we do what's called the full moon protocol, which sometimes we do it around the full moon, because we want to knock these guys out when they're having a blast. It's like they're throwing a party, but it's making us more sick, right? Does that make sense? Yeah. Sometimes having a repeat yeast infections or UTIs can be more than just what we think it is, right? Ringing in the ears, tinnitus, grinding of the teeth. Sometimes you can get parasite right here in the parotid gland, and I had several kids throughout my career, but just recently had some kids that were grinding pretty good at night. I checked this area, sure enough, find parasite, put them on a protocol. By the time they came back for the next visit, parents were like, hey, I think it's better. Great, kind of need your teeth. You don't want to grind them down, plus that's kind of hard on the jaw, right? Let's see, hair loss. I've had patients that have patchy spots of hair loss, and they don't know why, and it itches, and sure enough, I find parasite. In fact, I had a new patient just this past couple weeks here, so she's been with me for a month now, and she's been chronically ill literally her whole life. She said ever since she was an infant, she was ill. Her mother had a hard time even feeding her as an infant because she would get so sick. And so she's now retired, and finally comes to me, and she's not only feeling awful, but she's got this growth on the top of her head right here, and it's sticking up about, like when I feel it, it feels like it's sticking up about yay tall, right? And it was very bothersome, and I can imagine, she didn't say it, but I can imagine very kind of, she's a little self-conscious about it. I would be, right? Like, is somebody seeing that, right? But it was bothersome. It would flake and itch and hurt, and like, it was not fun. And so I do what I do, and sure enough, she's got parasite. You know, I find the root cause, what frequency of parasite within her, and it was connected to that head of hers, that spot. So I do the right thing, I put her on a protocol, and I didn't put her on a parasite killer right away, because she couldn't handle it, but we did some cleanup for a couple weeks, and then I put her on a little bit of parasite detox, and by the third visit, this thing, she claims, I told her eventually it'll dry up and fall off. That's what I said. My intention is for it to dry up and fall off. Well, she said it didn't dry up. It fossilized. She said it didn't like shrivel up like she thought or what I thought. She said it fossilized, but it fell right off. I was like, whoa! I didn't expect that. But that's what the body is capable of. It's capable of doing the work. You just have to give it the right stuff, and you have to not feed the problem. Tell me what feeds the problem of parasite. Anybody know?
Sugar.
Sugar, what else? What turns to sugar? Carbs, white flour, bread, rice, pasta, right? Yeah, okay. So even natural sugar, even fruit sugar, sometimes I have to tell people to stop eating if there's a struggle, you know? And so you have to understand that if you want to be successful in getting the bugs to go, you have to make them weaker, right? It's much easier on a body and immune system to get weak bugs out of the body. If you're feeding them every day and they're having a party every night and they're strong as ever, not going to be as easy, right? Okay. All right, I think I covered all those. Okay, so let's talk cancer. In my clinical experience, this is just my clinical experience, right? I am of the utmost belief that at the root cause of all cancers is parasite. Somewhere, somehow. Now there could be more to that, you know. For instance, where there is parasite in the body, oftentimes there's toxic metal or chemicals because the parasite is like a sponge to that stuff, right? So when we start handling parasites, the immune system handles parasites, sometimes toxic metals will be released and then we have to handle that. My colleagues and I like to prepare our patients for that ahead of time so that the body just binds those toxins and then you just poop them right out, okay? It's not always perfect, but that's what we try to do because toxic metal is a big problem, particularly radioactive elements that we get from drinking water, okay? The most common place to get radioactive elements is the public water supply. So just know that. Over here in this area in Delta Township, if you look on the Environmental Working Group's website and you put in this zip code, they will show you that this public water system is high in radium. How about that? Right? So definitely do not drink the water out here. Okay? Sorry, I'm going to take a drink of my black water. Ask me what's in it. I never stopped detoxing. Right now I'm detoxing Lyme. I've been through many parasite detoxes, but right now I'm detoxing Lyme. And so yesterday, I got a little carried away, like some of my colleagues and I do. We get a little overzealous with our own healing. So I megadosed myself on the formulas I need to start purging this. So today I found myself to be a little more congested than normal and to need more binding capacity. So I test for the biggest, baddest binder that's known to man right now, and it's called carboxy, and it's a black powder, and it comes from the earth, and it has this amazing ability to bind the toxins that people throw off when they're healing. So that's why I have black water. It does taste bad, actually. It tastes a little bit minerally, but it doesn't taste bad at all. So that's why I'm drinking, and that's why you hear this little bit, whenever I get this little bit of congestion here, I know because there's some drainage support in there too. So I'm just binding and draining, and that's what the body is supposed to do. The body is supposed to be able to rid itself of toxins naturally, but because of the nature of our environment and this toxic load that we live under, including the chemtrails in the sky, anybody looked up lately?
Oh.
They've been bad, like really bad. They've been spraying us like bugs in this state, in this area, really bad lately. Like crisscross applesauce the whole sky. And so they can't convince me that that stuff does not trickle down here, or that it's all like essential oils or something, right? Like, we're not that stupid. We know that there's toxins there. There might even be pathogens there. There might even be bacteria there, perhaps even E. coli. Sometimes I, suspect things like that, based on what I can find in the environment of my patients, right? So, cancer, like I said, it's my opinion that at the root cause of all cancers is on some level parasite, okay? And how do I know this? Because every time I have a patient who comes to me and they have known cancer, I'm gonna look for parasite and I'm gonna find it. I'm literally gonna find the frequency of parasite within them, where the problem is, and other places also, because it can be in one place, prioritizing in one place, and be in other places too, right? And so, this is important to know. Did you guys know that that back in would have been around 2020, 2021, during the whole COVID thing, right? When people started taking ivermectin, and then it got shut down because they didn't want anybody to have ivermectin. Ivermectin is an antiparasitic. Turns out, and nobody will tell you this but me, turns out there were cancer patients who were taking ivermectin and they put themselves into remission unbeknownst to them. They would go back and their cancer was gone. And the only thing they did different was ivermectin, right? Whether they were seeking normal treatment or, an integrated type of cancer treatment, didn't matter. Think about that for a second, right? Perhaps there was more of a reason why they didn't want us to have ivermectin than just the COVID. Just my opinion, just my weird, crazy thoughts. I have weird, crazy thoughts like that sometimes. I worked in a hospital for 20 years. 20 years, and the first 10 I enjoyed it. And then I started realizing, hey, wait a minute. These people that I'm taking care of, they're not really getting better. I mean, they do, they get better, they go home, but then they come right back. And they're in the same position, if not worse, right? Sometimes they just have a lung problem. And then as they get older and they get on more medication, then they have a lung and a heart problem. And then next thing you know, they have a lung and a heart and a kidney problem. And their Ziploc bag of pharmaceuticals goes from maybe the quart size that fits in the purse to a big gallon size that they gotta throw in a different size bag to bring to the hospital to lay out for the nurses everything that they take, right? How is that health care? Explain to me how somebody's going to get healthier by taking more medications for the side effects that they took from the previous medication. Somebody please explain that to me. It makes no sense to me. So 10 years in, I started my own journey of figuring out how do I not end up like the people that I'm taking care of, right? Like, I definitely did not want to end up like these people. And I was asthmatic, so I knew very well that I could have ended up like them if I didn't find another way. And thank God, my path, as God had it for me, led me to the work I get to do now, because I would still be working in a hospital, and I would still be miserable looking at these people who I couldn't help, really, truly help. And so, there is a place and a time for medical care, absolutely. If I get smucked out here tonight going home on Saginaw, you better take me to Sparrow or McLaren. I prefer McLaren. Sorry, Sparrow people, but I worked there for 20 years. I prefer McLaren. But when it comes to chronic illness and overall health, it's your responsibility. You have to learn, and you have to take responsibility for your health, and you have to do the do. You have to walk the walk and talk the talk. You have to understand that your body needs to detox every day properly, or you're going to lose the battle with your health. There was a day, probably once upon a time, maybe back when my grandmother was alive, that you didn't have to think about those things. But today we don't live in that environment anymore. Our environment is way more toxic than we realize for most people. So you have to know where the toxins are, you have to try to decrease your toxic load, and you have to not feed the problem with sugar and processed foods. Did you know that European countries, there's so many chemicals that they do not allow in their food that we do here, like dyes, food dyes. Did you know they put food dye in pickles? Apparently they're not green enough for us, Barb. They gotta put food dye in there. What? Who needs food dye in pickles? But they do. They put food dye in pickles. All the preservatives in our food, they don't allow that crap over there. High fructose corn syrup, absolutely banned over there. All the cereals our kids eat here, never would be allowed there. There's no Lucky Charms there. And they have different, if they have the product, it's made completely different, right? Kraft macaroni and cheese, for instance, I think over there, made completely different than here. Why do we settle for this? Is it just that we don't know what we don't know? Is that what it is? And what is our FDA doing, really, for us?
Poisoning us.
I mean, what are they doing for us? I'm sure they're making good money. It's our tax money, right? What are they really doing for us? Besides letting us be fat, sick, and nearly dead, right? Fat, sick, and nearly dead. So, if nothing else you take from this tonight, I want to inspire you to take action for your health. If you don't know what you don't know, then get some knowledge, learn some stuff. Come to our workshops. Every month we have workshops. Come and get tested, and I will teach you. Every step of the way, I'll teach you what you need to do as I've learned it and as I've come to treat myself, right? Myself and my family. Because it's vital. It's absolutely vital. The less toxic we are, the less prone we are to parasite. It's just the truth. You have to clean up the terrain in order to be well and for your body to adapt to exposure to parasite. If your terrain is clean and your body can adapt to being exposed to parasite, guess what? Your body's just going to handle it and you're not going to have to think about it. It's not going to get stored in your brain, or your body's not going to shove it into your eyeballs or whatever, right? That's not what's going to happen. The medical model, the medical model is based on symptom mentality, or the mailbox mindset. So in other words, there's a separate key for every combination at the post office, right? The mailboxes. So that's what the medical model does for all your symptoms. Each symptom, they give you a separate pill, a pill for every ill, right? But I'm here to tell you that there's a master key. And the master key is the energy within your cells that can do the work, right? Most of us have very little mitochondrial function in our cells, and our bodies can't do the work. Your mitochondria is the powerhouse of your cell. It creates ATP, which is energy. Most of us, our battery is on low. It's absolutely on low, okay? How do you get your battery up? You've got to help the body to repair the mitochondrial function so that you can create more energy. Your immune system will be stronger. You can detox better, right? A body with low energy cannot detox well, no matter what we do. We have to help the body up the energy on the battery so that it can do better. Okay? Are you always stuffy? Do you always feel like you have a sinus infection? This is my big sister. And if she's watching, I'm sorry, this is you, I'm talking about you. I doubt she's watching, so it'll be all right. But this is her, she'll admit it. She's always stuffy. She's always, for years, been on sinus infection after sinus infection, or what she thought was sinus infection, antibiotic after antibiotic. She just had a procedure done on her septum, or like in her turbinates. Seemed to help. She said she felt better, so I hope it helped her symptoms anyway. But what if she or you or someone you know with the same problem has parasite, roundworm right up in here? This type of nematode, we can actually literally breathe in their eggs. sometimes I've been able to find the frequency of that right over their sinuses, people's sinuses here and here. And what we can do, what we have to do sometimes is use what's called a navage, which will push fluid, saline or fluid in, and then it has a drainage, it sucks it back out, and we can literally put antiparasitic drops in there and kill the parasite in the nasal passages that way, into the deep nasal passages. So, stop picking your nose. You can transfer the eggs that way. I just had to put that in there. Okay, tell your kids to stop picking, and your grandchildren, tell them to stop it. You're gonna have parasites in your sinuses. All right. Colitis or Crohn's disease. This is more common than you realize. This is due to parasite. This is due to toxic foods, including glyphosate in the environment. Glyphosate is a pesticide, okay? It's toxic, it's carcinogenic, and it destroys your collagen. Collagen is your most abundant protein in your body. It's responsible for everything. Your skin, hair, nails, which we always know, but also your bones, your joints, your ligaments, every organ is coated in a collagen sheath. Your gut lining is all skin, okay? Glyphosate destroys your collagen, so it's gonna destroy your gut. And so I had a young man one time, his mom brought him to me and he had Crohn's, diagnosis of Crohn's, and unfortunately she was a single mother and very limited income. But we did what we could, and it was a very severe case. And when the money ran out, and he started really bleeding, and she had no choice but to take him into the emergency room. She took him to Grand Rapids to the Children's Hospital, I believe, and they couldn't stop the bleeding. And what they did is they removed his intestines. I don't know how much of it, but they removed a lot of his intestines and gave him a bag, right? He's a teenager. Devastating. And he had Parasite in there. I just didn't have enough time, and Mom didn't have enough money to really help him before that. That still weighs heavy in my heart. I wish I could have helped him sooner or faster or something, but these things, especially when they're that severe, they take time. You gotta prepare the body to do that. You can't do it like right away. It's just not gonna happen. So it's a big deal. So if you know anybody that has Crohn's or colitis, at the very least, send them my way. They're gonna need help to repair that gut and to eliminate the parasite that's most likely there. Ropeworm is the most commonly seen worm for me in clinical practice that is involved. There may be other worms as well, but ropeworm, again, because it's like attached to you intestinally, it causes a big problem. I kind of mentioned pleomorphism earlier, but this is the ability for microorganisms, not just parasites, to alter their morphology or their biological function in response to the environmental conditions. So it's not always you catching a bug. Sometimes you have, like I say, a symbiotic bacteria, which we have, or fungi or parasite in the body that's laying low, that's doing work for us, maybe cleaning things up or breaking things down, but then the body becomes too toxic, the immune system too weak, whatever it is, and then these things pleomorph into a big problem, okay? Am I going too fast? Are you guys catching on? Okay. So bottom line is we must strengthen the host. So how do we do that? We do that by first cleaning up the diet. You absolutely have to clean up the diet. You absolutely have to clean up the type of water that you're drinking. So if you're drinking the city water, please don't. If you're drinking the city water through a Brita filter, please don't. Just know it's not enough. It's not enough. If you're drinking the city water like I am through a Berkey, think about upgrading, which I'm going to do, right? I do a lot of distilled water now, but I don't have a distiller yet. It's on the docket. It's something I'm saving for because I need a whole house. I need a big one because I have a family of 4. It's just, this is where we're at now, you know, I used to muscle test the spring waters around town, and back in the day, they tested okay, or at least one of them. They don't test well now. I don't know what happened. They look the same, doesn't muscle test well now, so I won't drink it, I won't buy it. There are some spring waters that do muscle test well. Mountain Valley Spring is one of them. It's in a glass bottle, and it'll muscle test well, and that's fine, right? But it is expensive, because it's in a glass bottle. You can't buy it just anywhere, okay? What's the other one? Evian, I don't know how you say that. That one, usually muscle test well. I haven't tested it in a while. I will frequently, when I'm shopping, I will retest and test things, because I'm suspect that maybe things will change, right? And that's what happened for me. So, as of right now, I drink distilled water. I put minerals in it, whether it be liquid minerals or good pink salt or Celtic sea salt. I'll put it right in my water, okay? So that I can hydrate well. You need the minerals to hydrate well in your cells. So, I'm strengthening the host. How do I do that? I clean up my food, I clean up my water. I'm eating mostly good meat from my farmer and eggs. That's what I'm eating, and I'm feeding my family mostly good meat from the farmer and eggs. I'm having a hard time trusting the supermarket vegetables. And that's because, you know, I read a lot. I read a lot. I'm really having a hard time, and so if I do get them from the supermarket, I will clean them very well, and you know, it's a minimum right now. I feel like I'm gonna eat in the seasons, so that when the season is in and the farmer's market are full of fresh vegetables from a farmer that I can talk to, then I'm gonna be okay with it. Because again, I don't trust what the FDA is saying about the organic stuff. They can call it organic, but we all know there's loopholes in everything, and it may not be to my liking, and you know, perhaps, maybe, I should so I always just experiment with myself. Maybe I should just try this for a while. So that's been my New Year's resolution. I'm just gonna try more of eating just red meat from my farmer, and eggs, and maybe some chicken, and we're just gonna roll out like that. So stay tuned for the results of that, okay? But you have to think about these things. So if you are, you know, go ahead and eat your vegetables. I'm not saying don't eat them. I'm just saying I'm a little suspect anymore. I mean, did you guys ever hear about this appeal thing? With Bill Gates or whatever? He's got this, he funds this company that's putting these coatings on vegetable or fruits, particularly fruits, I think, for the shelf life. It's supposed to keep the oxidization down, something like that. I don't know. I got upset when I was reading it, so I just like, I can't read anymore. But I don't want that. I don't know what it is. And if Bill Gates has anything to do with it, I certainly do not want it. So I'm staying away from that. Who knows? I haven't seen any of the stickers yet. I've looked for them, but there are some people who will claim that the stickers are either hidden or not there. So you just don't know. Clean up your home environment. Take the Febreze out. Don't put the plug-ins in the wall. Don't burn all the fruit candles from Bed Bath & Beyond. Be careful of what you're putting on your skin, because everything you put on your skin is going to be absorbed within like 28 seconds. 60% of it goes into your bloodstream, and then you've got to detox it somehow. Most of the skincare products out there are endocrine disruptors. And what that means is it's going to disrupt your hormone system. So if you have a wonky thyroid, like I have always had, it's much better now, but I've always had a wonky thyroid. If you have adrenal glands that are always stressed out, if you have fertility problems, if you have menstrual problems, you may want to consider what you're putting on your skin and clean that up, and I can totally help you with that. So ask me about that later. But strengthening the host is key, right? It's the terrain that's important. It's not the bug. And don't care what bug it is, it's the terrain that's important. The stronger we keep the terrain, the cleaner we clean up the terrain and keep it, the better. The bug doesn't matter, right? The bug is not going to matter. We're going to be stronger and better for it. And even if the bug does somehow matter, and we find a bug, the body's going to handle it poo-poo. It's just going to be gone, okay? no worries. So we can help. Try not to freak out. Okay? Her solutions, you like that guy? Yeah. That looks like Barb. No. Without her coffee in the morning. Okay. So here are some things you can do on your own. We talked about this. We can clean up our diet, decrease our toxic load. We have detox foot baths. Absolutely. You can pull toxins out your feet, and it's gross, but you can do it. You can do it. We have that here. We have that at the other office in Frandor. Infrared sauna. Use your skin. It's your largest organ, and it's a detox organ. Use it as a tool, right? Sit in there, just read, meditate. That's what I do. I read or meditate, and just detox, right? Wash your hands and do it regularly. Detox regularly. This is important. And, don't sleep with your pets. I know that's a tough one. People are like, oh, I'm sorry. I draw the line there. No. Right? Am I right? Am I right?
Sleeping on the couch.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. Okay. So this is something we talk about all the time. Sugar, how it affects us, because this is step one. You gotta get the sugar out of your life. Because it feeds all the problems. All of the problems. And if, we're gonna do a sugar detox talk, here in the next couple months, maybe, Gabby, I don't remember. But we'll do that this year at
March
some point.
7th.
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
at
And so,
6:30.
please come, bring your friends and family. It's so important for people to understand this. The world is addicted to sugar, and they're chronically ill, partly because of that. Anytime we have sugar, we have nutritional deficiencies that are created, right? Certain things, especially calcium, comes right out the bones and cells when we have sugar. Our immune system is decreased when we have sugar. Our digestion shuts down when we have sugar. Okay? Inflammation goes up when we have sugar. So every time we consume sugar, we have nutritional deficiencies. And every time we have nutritional deficiencies, then we can safely assume that our organs are just not functioning optimally, right? Because it's the fuel. Our nutrients are the fuel for our organs. And then it becomes this vicious cycle of more sugar, more deficiencies, more organ dysfunction, more sugar, more deficiencies, more organ dysfunction, and then boom, here come the symptoms. And then the symptoms come more often, and they're more frequent, they're more severe, they're more frequent and they're more severe, and then they're more frequent and they're more severe. Does that make sense? It's this downward spiral that you need to put a halt to. And the halt is to stop the sugar. How do you do that? You get more protein and healthy fat in your life. Barb said to me before we started that, Helena, you told me to put coconut oil in my coffee and my tea, or eat coconut oil, and that would help me with my cravings. And actually it has, right? Yeah. And because healthy fat is more satisfying. It keeps you fuller longer, and you're just not out there an hour later just looking for something to munch on, or deciding to make caramels like Barb likes to make caramels. I'm just saying, but you won't now, because you know you have the tool now to help you. So that urge to make caramels is not, it's gonna be lesser and lesser until it's no more, right? If you keep doing the do, that's what happens, okay? So this is key. So what, anybody here never been to nutrition talk before? You look so familiar. Welcome. How about you two back there? Have you guys been, are you nutrition patients at all? No? Okay. Well, what we do here and at the other office, which is in Frandor, is what's called nutrition response testing. It's a special type of muscle testing. It's just a tool, really, to design a specific clinical nutrition program for our patients. And it's tailored to your exact needs that are unique to you. And what the goal is to ultimately get your body in good working order and keep it that way, okay? And we do this using the tool called nutrition response testing. And it allows us to identify what specific nutritional deficiencies you do have, what organs are being affected, and the root causes. Because remember at the beginning I said we are root cause finders and fixers, okay? So we're looking for all the things, including heavy metals and chemicals, and bugs such as Parasite. We're looking for food sensitivities, we're looking for scars maybe that didn't heal properly, and other things, right? And so we're looking for all those things to be able to identify perhaps a root cause to why someone feels the way they do, or why they have the diagnosis they have. And then we're giving them the exact right nutrition to help their bodies to heal itself, because that's what you're designed to do. You just are too deficient and or toxic. And so the supplements that we give our patients are designed specifically for them to handle a specific thing, right? Whether it be to bind toxins, or to help them digest better, or to help their organs function better, or to help them handle parasite, okay, or whatever else. That's what they're designed to do, and the body will actually use that nutrition to fix the problem, right? To repair the problem, and then at the end of the day, the body is in better working order. Because your health, my health, is like a big juicy onion, and we have many layers, and so our patients just, every layer after layer, they heal through that, and over time, they just have less and less symptoms until they have no more symptoms, and then they have optimized their health, and then guess what? They want to keep it there, right? That's the goal. Nobody wants to go backwards, right? Once you get your optimized health and you feel great, you don't want to go backwards, so then they use me as their urgent care, they use me as their doctor, even though I'm clearly not a medical doctor, but this is how people handle their health. This is how I handle my health, because I didn't want to be like the people I was taking care of in the hospital. And so I'm happy to say that at the age of 50, almost 51, I am much healthier and I feel much better now than I did in my mid-30s. And that's only because of the work that I've done. It's only because of cleaning up my diet and taking the right supplements and detoxing and detoxing and detoxing, right? I get regular health checks, just like my patients do. I get chiropractic care, just like a lot of my patients do. I do the detoxes. I do the foot detox. I do the infrared sauna. I do the eating well, thinking well, right? And moving well, right? We have to move well in order to be healthy. Any questions?
We had a question on the live.
Okay.
They asked, let me pull it up. How is this lifestyle maintainable?
Well, it's maintainable because it's not as hard to do as one would think, right? You have to have the intention to do it, first of all, right? If you don't intend to do something, you're not going to do it, right? If I intend to make my health a priority, I'm going to make baby steps towards my big goal, which is the ultimate lifestyle, right? That will sustain health. But you don't get there overnight. You're going to make baby steps along the way, right? So what I teach my patients to do is to clean up their diet a little bit at a time. I don't turn their lives upside down and say, okay, now this is what you're going to eat and you're going to do it just this way. See you next week. I try to help them make baby steps in the right direction, meaning what you used to do now or what you used to do you don't do now because you know better. You know how that thing made your body feel, right? So for me, it was my husband and I had Twizzlers, a bagged family-sized Twizzler bag every time we took a road trip. That was what we did. I mean, we made a special stop just for the big family-sized bag and we ate it on the road trip. We don't do that anymore. I take a cooler. We know better, right? My husband and I, back before I started my health journey, we had Jets Pizza every night. Every Friday night is what I was trying to say. Every Friday night. We loved Jets Pizza. I had no idea how Jets Pizza made me feel because I always felt like boo-boo. Does that make sense? My body was not able to express to me how Jets Pizza made me feel. Now, I'm sorry, Jets, but I'm calling you out. This is just me, my personal experience, right? So I started my health journey and I did that knowing that I was going to do this work. I already made the decision before I even became a patient. And so I was very intent on cleaning up my diet. And so I was very clean for 3 months, didn't have any Jets Pizza, but I'm human. And I had a weak moment, and my husband and I went and had Jets Pizza, and I was never so sick. And I didn't understand it. I was too new. I didn't understand why. It never made me feel sick before. But I had to be explained to that initially, Helena, you were down here, right? You felt like boo-boo. But you cleaned up your diet and you took your supplements for 3 months, you're doing really good, and now you're up here, right? Now you turned on your bells and whistles that God gave you, just like your car, God gave you bells and whistles. I turned my bells and whistles back on because I felt better. My body was in a little better working order, and I have Jet's Pizza, and my body said, doop, crash. Does that make sense? So these are not things, this lifestyle is not done overnight. It's done gradually. You just learn and you do, and you learn and you do, and it doesn't have to be perfect along the way. It doesn't have to be. My journey wasn't perfect. Still isn't perfect. I'm being perfected. I just learn along the way. I'm still learning and I'm still implementing and doing. I use myself as a trial and error kind of thing sometimes. So hopefully that answers the question, but yeah, it's a learned thing. You have to know the why behind what you're doing though. If you don't understand the why, it's not sustainable. And if you don't understand what you stand to lose, if you have no reality on what you stand to lose if you do not have your health, it's not sustainable. I mean, think about Steve Jobs. I mean, this man was worth, what, 10 billion when he died or something crazy like that, right? And not one of us in this room wants to trade places with him. Not one of us. I know I don't. He lost his life. What was his priorities? I don't know. Maybe health wasn't a priority. He was a very busy man. I'm sure stress was a huge part of his inability to maintain good working order. I don't know. All I know is he's no longer here. He had all the money in the world for all the best health care, and he's not here, right? We have to be intentional. And you have to have a big enough why. Otherwise, you're not gonna, for some people, it's not themselves, it's someone else that they want to be healthy for. Their kid, maybe even their dog, who knows? But your why has to be big enough, or you're not gonna maintain it. You're gonna walk right away from it. You may try for a little bit, but you're gonna walk right away from it. And you have the choice to do that, right? Everybody has the choice. But honestly, we have 3 outcomes in life, you and I. We have 3 outcomes. The first is we're gonna grow older. We're gonna grow older, and we're gonna die early, perhaps, from maybe heart disease or cancer. That's the top 2 leading causes of death. Medical error being the third, just so you know. I didn't make this up, this is just the truth, okay? And you're gonna leave your family and friends wondering, shoulda, coulda, woulda, like what could we have done differently? What could he or she have done differently? Maybe I should have said this, or I should have done this, I should have taken him there, I should have done that. Heck, I'm doing that right now with my own mother. I have the shoulda, coulda, wouldas. I know I did a lot to try to convince her to prioritize her health. The second option we have is to maybe grow older, and perhaps we're in our 70s, maybe our 80s, but we're fully dependent on someone else to take care of us. Maybe we don't even have an idea of who we are anymore. I have a colleague who just lost her father from that very thing. He had awful dementia and just didn't know who he was not nice to the staff, having heart attacks, he was just not doing well. And what if you're wearing a diaper and you're drooling on yourself? I mean, that's an option. We know that happens. You go to any nursing home, they're there, right? Or we have option 3, where we can grow older, have our health, have longevity, make our health a priority, experience life, check off our bucket list, have experiences with our families, travel, right? Well into our 90s. Why can't we? Why can't we? I want to dance twice a week when I get that age. I want to go dancing. There's going to be somewhere for me to go, whether it be VFW, I don't care what it is, I'm going to go, right? That's what I'm going to do. That's what my grandmother did, and that's what I want to do. And so, and then perhaps maybe you just go to sleep one night and you just don't wake up. Or perhaps you're like my grandpa, who was 98, bless his heart. He wanted to make it to 100, and he was so close. He was so close and he just keeled over one day. He didn't suffer, he just keeled over. End of story. That's not so bad, considering the other options, right? I mean, yeah, it sucked that he was gone, but he didn't suffer. I'm grateful that he did not suffer. He had a good life, and it was a long life, right? That's what I want. Anybody else with me? 1, 2, or 3? 3? Everybody say 3.
3.
Yeah, right. Number 3. That's what we want. But of course, we have choices. We have choices to walk. All have a choice to walk out of here tonight. You don't have to do anything with this information. You don't have to. You can walk out and just go back to life as usual. That's your choice. All of us have that choice. But I'm hoping that in some way I can inspire you tonight to, if you're not already a patient, to take action. Go from awareness, because I've brought up your awareness. You go from awareness and then take action. Okay? What does that look like? That may mean for you that you do something as simple as look how you can clean up your diet and get the sugar out, or you can look how you can learn more about Parasite or wonder if you've got Parasite, or you can take an action step that is significant for your future and get on my schedule for a nutrition assessment based on your clinical needs, your history, your clinical needs, and get started on a health journey of doing all of those things that I told you absolutely need to be done for you to have your health. Okay? So what does that look like? Well, my initial assessment is 2 parts. The first part is clinical. It's paperwork, which is always boring, but needs to be done. And then it's what's called a heart rate variability study, which is a study of the autonomic nervous system function, which is big words for how well can your brain talk to your body and your body back to your brain. How well do you adapt to things? How physiologically well are you, okay? And then we do what's called body composition analysis, and that's where we get all your body fat percentage, how well you're hydrating, your metabolic age, muscle mass, all these factors. That it's kind of a trending tool. That's all it is. It's just a trending tool. Then I do the clinical testing, and where I'm going to find out for you what nutritional deficiencies you have, what organs are being affected, and what root causes may be there, okay? And I'm going to build that program just for you. Then I'm going to send you home with a food log, because food is important. If I can't help you with food, then I can't help you, right? So every patient writes a food log for me for a certain period of time for me to help them gradiently improve the quality of food that they're putting in the tank. Because we are, whether you realize it or not, we are Mercedes-Benz. Most of us feed ourselves like hoopties. Yes or yes? That's the truth. It's the truth, okay? You are Mercedes-Benz. God said so. So start putting 92 or 93 in the tank. Leave the 87 alone. Does that make sense? I had a son-in-law once upon a time. This is a quick story I'll tell you real quick, then we'll wrap it up. But once upon a time, he was young, 19 I believe at the time. He got a refund check from the IRS for like $800 or $900, and he needed a car. So he bought a car, a used car, but he bought a used Mercedes-Benz for $800 or $900, and it did run. Couldn't believe it. It ran. So he bought it, and he was so excited because it was a Mercedes-Benz, right? He's a teenage boy. He thinks he's big stuff. Well, he didn't know. Nobody told him that you can't put 87 octane in a Mercedes-Benz. And needless to say, he didn't drive that much longer after he had to fill it up with gas the first time. So, granted, our bodies won't shut down that quickly with crap food, but it will over time, okay? You have to know that. So, just so you know, heart disease doesn't wait. Diabetes doesn't wait. Yeah. Arthritis doesn't wait. Autoimmune disease doesn't wait. Cancer does not wait. Right? Fibromyalgia, it doesn't wait. Chronic migraines don't wait. What else? Can you guys think of other things? Lupus doesn't wait. Right? I guess that falls in the autoimmune category, but you get my drift.
What about Parkinson's?
Parkinson's does not wait. Right?
Can that be parasite?
It can, absolutely it can. Stroke can be parasite. Yeah.
Yeah, Stroke too,
Stroke,
heart
Yeah.
attacks.
heart attacks, yeah. If you have parasite in your heart, you're gonna have arrhythmias for sure, most likely. You may have some angina, some chest pain, but you can have arrhythmias. I've had patients with arrhythmia come to me with AFib, or just PVCs, what's called PVC, premature ventricular contractions. Find out what's going on in the heart, and the rhythm of the heart goes back to normal, right? Clean it up. Shh, don't tell the doctors that. It's the truth. There's root causes to everything, right?
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So when you muscle test
Yes.
and then you start the protocol, you don't go right to the parasite?
No, majority of the time, no. There's very few people that can handle that. And that's because our downstream pathways, our drainage funnels, are mucky, okay? Everybody has a drainage funnel, okay? Where up here are the cells and the organs, and then you have the lymphatic system, and then you have the liver and gallbladder, or the bile, and then you have the colon and the kidney, and then, right, the toilet. Okay? Most people, when they come to me, this funnel is so jammed up, it's like a dam in the river. It ain't going nowhere. It's getting real leaky, and it's not happening. So we have to start from the bottom up, get that pooping good first, get the liver, gallbladder, and kidneys functioning better, make sure the lymphatic fluid can drain down before we even start any kind of detox. It's very, very important. Otherwise, we can put people into a healing crisis, and I don't like to do that. Although, even still, it can happen. It's not a 100% guarantee. However, we try our best to make sure that doesn't happen.
And what does that look like?
It looks like a lot of drainage support in the world of supplement drainage support. It looks like a lot of binders. We use a lot of binders anymore, just like what's in my water, to bind to toxins. It makes it safer. These products, they pull, literally, it's like a magnet. They pull toxins into the chemical structure of the substance, and then your body can just eliminate it better. It doesn't get hung up anywhere else on the way out, right? Like it's just there. That's why it's called a binder. And so it's really a lot safer detox.
So if you start that protocol for the parasite before your body's cleaned up, it really doesn't.
It's going to make you feel worse oftentimes instead of better. So people can have skin eruptions, they can have headaches, fatigue. It's not pretty sometimes for people. You're trying to create, if you think about it, you're creating more waste in the body by handling something that's trying to come out, but it can't come out. So you have this back pressure, you're creating like this back pressure in the body, and it just makes people feel worse. So it's just not a good idea to do it that way. And by the way, if any of you have friends or family that aren't in the area, we can definitely help people anywhere across the country, or the world for that matter. There's specific things that we can do with the specific products that we have that are absolutely, key for them to get well. They don't necessarily have to be right in front of me. Just because some of you all are, it's okay. We can still help people. So if you have friends or family that are across the way, or you're watching and you're not from this area, you can still take advantage of my assessment. You can still take advantage. We do help telehealth work as well. Okay, so distance work as well. Any questions? No? Okay. Anybody want to give me one good reason that you would want to wait to make your health a priority? What's a good reason? Well, you don't have a car. I've heard it all. I don't have a car. What? What do you think? I didn't think so. Good job. Good job. That was the answer I was hoping for. That's the answer I was hoping for. All right, we'll take some questions, and thank you all for watching. And we'll wrap it up and get you guys out of here. Tomorrow's supposed to be nice again, huh?